Yo, what's up? This is my YouTube page. Leave a comment, write a review, ask a question. I will write you back. A lot of the times, I will write you back. Welcome to my YouTube page. Somebody who we don't adore, and podcasting is such an incredible business now. Podcasting is so booming, and to be a professional podcaster in this day and age, I'm very proud of it. Very proud of what we've built with the I Am Rapaport Stereo podcast. And I'm proud that we've done it with some integrity, a lot of integrity. Some people don't give a shit because some podcasts, boom, some podcasts will literally have anybody on just to get a rep, to quote the great gang star, the late, great Guru and Premier, just to get a rep. This podcast by these guys, the Nelk Boys, which I guess is, I don't know who these people are. I know they have rappers on, and if I was a rapper and I went on the Nelk Boys podcast, I would ask them, can you name 3 of my songs? Any rapper that goes on a podcast, you should make sure on air, when the cameras are rolling, you say, yo, can you name 3 of my songs? Can you name one? Can you recite one verse to one of my songs? Since you're such a big guest, since you're so into me, this podcast had OJ Simpson on their podcast. And I was thinking to myself, wow. And this is an already very popular podcast. Everybody does this podcast. I don't know much about these guys. It's very popular. I don't know how it got popular, but the fact that these dudes had OJ Simpson on their podcast. You sleep with yourself? You think that's dope? To have OJ, a killer? We know he did it. Just to get motherfuckers to watch your shit. And get Jake Paul, get Logan Paul. Get Chris Paul. You got OJ Simpson on your podcast. It's not like you guys are trying to build your brand. You have a very successful brand. Are you ashamed of yourself? Are you proud of that you got him on there? Is nobody off limits to these podcasters? Some of these dudes will just have anybody on there. Like if Jeffrey Dahmer is on, if Jeffrey Dahmer's live, motherfuckers will be like, yo, let me get Dahmer. I want to book him. I want to be the one to ask him the questions. And they had OJ Simpson on, and they're asking him questions like you could believe anything this dude says. Now, I don't know if OJ paid to get on his podcast or they paid OJ to get on his podcast. I don't know how it works. Maybe it was just they booked a guest. Maybe it's not a hard get. But they're asking OJ about who did it, who didn't do it, and all that. We know who did it. You're asking a guy who's not going to tell you the truth questions. And I wonder if the victim's family saw the podcast. And I wonder how this is like some Sandy Hook. This is like some Alex Jones shit, having OJ Simpson on your podcast. He's a piece of shit. And it was circulating because they asked OJ Simpson about the rumor of him being Khloe Kardashian's parent. And OJ said this, that, and the third, but he basically said no. He said, I didn't do anything with Kris Jenner. I've never had sex with. He basically said, I didn't do anything with Kris Jenner. And this sort of verified that he isn't Khloe Kardashian's father. You can't believe a word this piece says. As far as I'm concerned, if you ask OJ Simpson a question, whatever he says, you have to start thinking the opposite's true. This is a murderer, a cold-blooded murderer. He can't be trusted. Nothing he says is worth anything, like literally worth nothing. And these dudes had him on their podcast. For what? Business is booming. Business is booming for this podcast, yet you wanted OJ Simpson on there, and you sat there with a straight face. Sometimes, like with a little smirk on your face, like it is sweet. With OJ Simpson. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Like at a certain point, like, you got enough views. Like, don't you want to be able to like have some integrity about you? To have this dude on your podcast? You're already popping off. But this is the world we live in now. You might as well like do a fuck video. That's like a snuff video. That's like a porno. You sold yourself out. You might as well do dick videos where you're like jerk off videos. Hey, we have OJ Simpson, and the next one we're jerking each other off. Check out the next episode of the Nelk Boys. We're gonna give each other hand jobs. Shame on you. Don't you got parents? Speaking of a NFL great, true great, all class, the great Franco Harris of the Pittsburgh Steelers championship teams. The 75, 76, 79, and 1980 championship teams, the Pittsburgh Steelers, well, first of all, let's stay on Franco. The Immaculate Catch, Terry Bradshaw, the Las Vegas, the Oakland Raiders. This is when football was, not that it's not, football's always great, but it was just a different kind of football. And that catch, the Immaculate Catch, the Oakland Raiders versus the Pittsburgh Steelers championship game. And let me tell you something. At that time, even if you were a Giants fan, even if you were a Jets fan, even if you were, a fan of another team, the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers, they reigned supreme because it felt like every year they were in the Super Bowl, and they weren't, but every year they were in contention. And Franco Harris, Terry Bradshaw, the Steel Curtain, those iconic Pittsburgh Steeler players, those iconic Pittsburgh Steeler jerseys, the black, the gold. What a shame. I believe he was 77 years old, number 32, big running back. And at that time, like I said, as a kid, it wasn't like these kids are so educated they are today with SportsCenter, with Madden, with the video games, with ESPN. You could look everything up. You watched those games. You saw what you saw. You caught some highlights, and they were ingrained in your memory. And I was a kid when they played the Rams in 1980, and Lynn Swann, John Stallworth, Rocky Bleier, the offensive line, John Kolb, Mike Webster, Benny Cunningham, and just the defense. Mean Joe Green. This probably one of the greatest nicknames in all of sports history. Mean Joe Green. I mean, and Jack Lambert with his teeth missing. You didn't know what was going on. And these were not, it was a great time. And Franco Harris passed away. And I believe Franco Harris, half black, half Italian. He had that beautiful beard. He had that like upright run. The pads were different. Everything was shot on film. You look at the highlights of those games that were shot on film, NFL films. And, just a sad. It made me sad. Mel Blount. It made me sad that Franco Harris passed away because, like I said, I was Pittsburgh Steelers all day, every day versus whoever. They were playing against Earl Campbell and the Houston Oilers and all those guys. Those games were great, and it was just sad to find out. And, I started thinking like, yo, these dudes are getting older, man. And I started, thinking about like the guys that I loved growing up, the players that I loved, the Walt Frazier's, the Earl Monroe's, the Dr. J's. Of course, Darryl Dawkins passed away. Moses Malone passed away. But, dudes are getting older, and we're getting older. The fans of Franco Harris are getting older. It was sad to see the late, great Franco Harris, number 32 of the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a guy who's not even on my team. And I loved him, and I just loved that the whole, watching those games, Chuck Noll, the coach, in the freezing Pittsburgh weather. And as a kid, it was like, what's Pittsburgh? It like this, crazy play. I'd never been there, but it just sounded cool. It looked cool on TV. And it's just a sad day to find out that Franco Harris passed. Yo, I appreciate you watching. Leave a comment, write a review, ask a question, and I will do my best to get back to you. I appreciate you watching this on my YouTube page.